Five lights out and the Canadian Grand Prix is underway. It's been a good start by YSI. It's been a great start actually as the drivers now charge down into the first braking zone of turn 3. But YSI is able to carry the speed through the corner, and on the exit down the hill he's actually got ahead of both the Mercedes drivers there. But let's see, are they going to be able to do anything coming into the triple chicane? Heya tries to go for the switchback on YSI, but has it worked out for him? No, it hasn't. YSI is still leading as they come into the second sector, but now coming up the hill, Heya gets a bit of a bump there, and he might be falling behind his teammate. But Lewis in the McLaren, he's actually having some pretty impressive pace to keep up with the top 3 drivers now. But Dungeon is actually the lead Mercedes, and he's now going to be putting YSI under quite a bit of pressure. But it looks like YSI has actually lost a bit of ground there, and he could be falling behind both of the Mercedes drivers as they come into the final corner. But YSI is able to brake late, and on the exit there is still absolutely nothing to separate these 3 drivers. Oh, that's Moto. But Moto has actually lost his front wing on only the second lap, so this race definitely hasn't been going in his favour so far. Of course, he started from the back of the grid after he didn't set a qualifying time, but he's now going to have to come in the pit lane to replace his front wing. But let's see in a replay how he actually lost his front wing in the first place. You see him now coming out of the triple chicane of the first sector, and I think he just hit the bump. Yes, he does, and that corner just seems to be catching out quite a few drivers in this race. And we now have a 4-way battle for P2 after both the Mercedes have got a track limit penalty, but that's going to give YSI a huge advantage in this race so far. But Heya is going to make quick work of Jerry coming into the chicane, and oh, that's the Mercedes that's flipped. That's Dungeon flipping over the sausage curb, and that's going to lose him a bunch of time there. But that one mistake could cost him a chance at getting the podium. The former Ferrari team boss now battling with Dungeon for P7 as Dungeon hits the bump and he gets a huge slide and goes straight into the wall, and he got very lucky not to DNF from that. But this race has just been getting worse and worse for Dungeon as it goes on. Oh, that's a Williams flipping in the background there, and that's just as we saw Dungeon did a few laps earlier. But both YSI and Heya have changed their tyres, so Jerry and Baby Shumi are the 2 drivers in the top 4 to not make their pit stop. But let's see, will Jerry come into the pit lane this lap? I think he is, yes he is, but is it too late? Has Heya already got the undercut on him? We're just gonna have to wait and see as we see Heya on those fresh soft tyres, and YSI 13 seconds ahead of Heya, so it looked like he might just be running away with this victory so far. But Baby Shumi is actually staying out, so he might be on the one-stop strategy, but Heya has come out ahead of Jerry Pecco. But let's see, will Heya be able to maintain that position to the end of the race? So Baby Shumi is still in P2 as we come out of the chicane, and now, oh, that's a Mercedes that's crashed, and that's Dungeon. So Dungeon had enough this race. That's unfortunate for him because he definitely had the pace to get a podium at least. We saw in qualifying, he qualified up in P3, but it just looked like luck wasn't on his side this weekend. Moto fighting his way back through the field. He lost his front wing twice this race, but he's still managing to get into a decent position as we come out of the chicane. And oh, that's a Sauber that's crashed, and I think that's Jerry Pecco. Yes, it is. And Jerry crashing in the exact same corner as Dungeon did a few laps earlier, and he was on course for an easy podium, but unfortunately for Jerry, he's going to be walking away with 0 points this race. Baby Shumi, one of the only drivers to do the one-stop strategy, and by the looks of it he's executing it perfectly as he's still up in P2 ahead of Heya, but it's looking very likely that he's going to get overtaken as Heya is on much fresher tyres than him. But on the exit, Baby Shumi goes a bit wide and he actually gets a track limit penalty, and that's allowed Heya to get up into P2, but it's still been a very impressive performance by him so far. This has definitely been YSI's best race of Season 3, a 15-second gap to his championship rival, and YSI is going to come across the line to take the win here at Winford. but Heya is going to have to settle for second place, but I don't think he's going to be too disappointed about that, because I don't think there's anyone that could come close to Y-Side's pace and consistency. But Heya takes P2, and Baby Shumi is going to round out the top 3 after taking his first ever podium here in AWC after executing the one-stop strategy perfectly. But the fight for P4 is not over just yet, as Lewis, he's actually got overtaken by Moto, but it's less than a second difference between them, and the Williams of Khan is also not too far behind them. But let's see, will Lewis be able to do anything against Moto? I don't think he is, and Moto is going to take P4 as Lewis actually goes a bit wide, and he actually gets a track limit penalty coming out of the final corner, and Khan gets to position with meters to go. What a finish between them. A dominant race win from Y-Side, and Haas gets their first double points finish of the season. But as we go into the season break, Y-Side retakes the lead of the Drivers' Championship by only 5 points.